Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our reverse pitch this morning here on November 10th. I have Drew from Hog Ventures, managing partner here, joining us today. He'll be the one that gives his presentation, gives you helpful insight on his organization and what he looks for in particular startups. Just a background on myself, my name is Randall Fink. I'm the head of investor relations here at the Israeli Trade Innovation Office in San Francisco. We're focused on all sectors and really all stages. As long as you're an Israeli company, we look to help you out here on the West Coast of the US. And that's through our warm network that we have. We make different connections for yourself, whether that's going to be at events, conferences, different partnerships, making introductions to enterprises, or going through your customer base, or just in general, helping you find the correct investor, which could be relevant for you today. So that's the big reason that we're helpful for you guys. But without further ado, I want to hand it over to Drew to kind of take the lead and let him introduce himself a little bit more fully and tell you about Hawke.
Thanks so much. Very nice to see you all here. Welcome to the reverse pitch. It's kind of fun pitching my company to entrepreneurs. I mean, I pitch to investors for my fund or nitty gritty on what we do and how we do it in a way that's more granular to people who are operators versus the folks who are investors, and they already think they know everything because they made it. So yeah, really nice to meet everybody. My name is Drew Leahy. I'm the managing partner of Hog Ventures. Before I was investing, I was an operator myself for 10 years. I've started 4 different companies. And I come into the investing role as an operator. And I think that sort of sets us apart from a lot of the other venture capital firms that are out there in the world. We are marketing operators. We've built companies. We've sold companies. We understand what it means to grow and how to grow from something that's very small into something that's actually working. And that gap is something that a lot of investors maybe don't focus on as much or have as much experience in. And so that's why I think we've been able to be so successful, both in our investing strategy, as well as with talking to other investors, is that we've been in your shoes. We've done this before. We've raised capital. We've raised seed rounds. We've raised pre-seed rounds. We've gotten to revenue. We've hired teams. We've done all this stuff, right? And so my pitch for Hog Ventures is pretty simple. I'll walk you guys through it. But here we go. Without further ado, this is Hog Ventures. We are the MarTech fund. So we are partnered with a company called Hawk Media. So the Hawk Media, Hawk Ventures ecosystem is vast. Hawk Media has worked with over 3,000 companies in the last 7 years. We are a large marketing consultancy. We basically grow companies on the agency side. We are all a la carte, all month to month. By the way, this isn't a sales pitch for Hawk Media. But we are the picks and shovels for brands that need marketing assistance. The agency started with my partner, Eric Huberman. He was a marketing consultant and realized that about in 2014, 2015, agencies couldn't help brands, especially e-commerce brands, online. They just didn't know how to help them. They couldn't be nimble enough. They couldn't be scrappy enough. Long-term contracts, really, really high minimums. So Hawk Media was created to help grow brands, right? And here we are 7 years later with the venture fund doing the same thing, both in technology and in consumer. But what's really interesting about the partnership between Hawk Media and Hawk Ventures is I run Hawk Ventures. I have access to all of this data, all of this expertise, the best-in-class marketers, the best-in-class techniques, because we're seeing it across 600 brands a month. And we have 250 experts at Hawk Media. So as a venture firm, if I invest in one of you as a portfolio company, I get the war chest of Hawk Media, which is a big company that sits alongside me. We're not just capital, we are expertise, we are an ecosystem, and we're resources. So that's what really makes us different. We are the MarTech fund, which is interesting because there's a lot of people running away from MarTech. Our fund 1 has done super, super well. And so we've been grateful to be in awesome companies that have been able to grow in the last 2 years since we invested in them. And what's really cool about every single one of the companies on this page is that we have, in our own way, really helped grow these companies. Postscript is a fantastic SMS platform. We have driven hundreds and hundreds of clients to them. We are their number one referral partner as an investor, not even just as an investor in their ecosystem. We've driven more clients to them than anyone else, right? This is why we write a check, and this is why we help companies. The SIL, we actually have managed their marketing for 3 years, their performance marketing. We have made them so much money and had so many returns on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and connected TV, you name it. We're running campaigns on those platforms, helping them make money. Icon Source is a really cool brands and sports athletes marketplace. We are now integrating them into our influencer teams so that we're not just going out to brands and saying, hey, you should hire this really cute social media influencer to promote your product. It's like, hey, you should hire this athlete that's at the University of Alabama and they're a starting quarterback or whatever it is, right? They also do pro athletes and college athletes. Yaguara is a company that our entire agency used. We use them for a combination of analytics as well as performance management internally. And we were able to exit that company to another company that's now doing headless commerce. And they basically blended the headless commerce with the data stack. And so this is just a couple examples of why we do what we do, right? But we're looking for companies that are in the MarTech space. A lot of companies are running away from MarTech, specifically venture capital firms. They think that MarTech, ad tech is this scary world. They've been burned a few times, but the people who've been burned in this world, a lot of times, they don't have necessarily the expertise, or they were sitting on the enterprise side of the house, right? We focus on the mid-tier SMB, the SMB to middle enterprise. That's what we focus on for our software and for our marketing technology. But at the end of the day, so many companies now are MarTech companies. When Walmart buys a company, they're buying them because of their MarTech capabilities, because their ability to create revenue, to sell, to do something that's outside of their stores and inside of their stores, to promote and market, right? And so we see this time and time again. All the biggest companies in the world are becoming MarTech companies. That's just how it is, right? Which is why our venture thesis makes sense. So what's our focus? So there's 4 main focuses that we have as a firm. Marketing tools and software, picks and shovels, that's what we really crush, right? There is a perfect example of this that came into our company. Klaviyo, which is a world-renowned e-commerce email software, right? 7 years ago, they came to Eric and said, hey, do you want to invest in our company? But we were really, really early on as an agency. I wasn't even around. I've only been at Hawke for 4 years. But before Hawke was this small company, we started using Klaviyo. 6-7 years later, we are their number one. We've driven more clients to them. We've driven something like 6% of their clients base to Klaviyo. But we weren't able to invest because we were too small. So imagine if we had $1 million check in Klaviyo, they're worth billions of dollars at this point, right? And so we use the software that we invest in. And I think that's one of the things that makes us so killer on a cap table. It's what makes us so killer in the ecosystem. When we're talking to a client, we put our money where our mouth is. Like, not only are we using this software, but we also invested in it because we believe in how this company works better than all the others, right? And so it's a really huge selling point when we're talking to brands about which technologies they should be using. We are a trusted source for this, right? The other thing is emerging marketing channels. Look what happened with iOS 14. Look what's happening with Facebook. Look what's happening with Instagram. These huge MarTech firms that have minted cash and returns for brands for ages, it feels like, in the ad and marketing world, they're going away. And if brands are on the heroin drip of Facebook and Instagram, like, it's going away. It already has. We're watching it happen. We are investing in the emerging marketing channels of the future, right? How can we not only do a great job for our clients with the existing technology, but how can we find the best in class technology that's up and coming? I help you guys in the audience as well. Building emerging marketing channels ways to spend money, ways to have returns. And then the other main one is e-commerce enablement. I love investing in technology that helps e-commerce brands sell more, do better logistics, save money, save time, increase margin. What can we do to invest in e-commerce enablement companies? Because as a firm, we do about 70% of our marketing with e-commerce clients. They're on Shopify, they're on WooCommerce, they're in the Shopify ecosystem, right? That's a big part of our business. We're huge partners with Shopify. We actually deferred some cash that we were going to put into Yaguara because Shopify came in and led and put $500,000 into that company, mostly because we were driving so many clients to them and had a great relationship with the CEO and Shopify, right? This is just some of the abilities that we have. And then we have Opportunistic Consumer. We very rarely invest in consumer brands, but when we do, it's for a very, very good reason. There's some outsized industry leader that is in the deal already, like with Gemist. Gemist is backed by De Beers, which is the largest diamond company in the world. They're probably going to acquire Gemist someday. We're going to make a bunch of money. It's a great way for us to invest when we can see that there are big tailwinds and partnerships. But there's not a lot of consumer companies, I think, in here. Maybe there is, maybe not. But mostly the consumer companies we're investing in, they have great marketing. They have great brands. They have B+ to A- marketing, and we're trying to get them to an A+ marketing perspective. I have clients, people pitch me sometimes, oh, like, why don't you take over our marketing? Because we have everything else figured out. And that's just not really what we do, because otherwise I'd have to take 50% of your company. The Hog family, right? I've talked about this ecosystem. Not only do we have Hawk Media, not only do we have Hog Ventures, we also have Hawk Capital. We are doing merchant cash advances. We've done over 20 million actually since this slide. We've had a bunch of deals go through. So we're also financing businesses and helping them grow. We're managing marketing and we're doing equity investing. So we have a big pool here. We have over 51 investors in our fund. We have pro athletes in our fund. Rodney Peete, he was a big guy at USC. We have celebrities from TV in the fund. We have Jill Zarin from the Real Housewives of New York City. She actually manages her own e-commerce company and has a massive licensing agreement as well with a bunch of huge retail providers. She's a huge asset to our fund. We kick technology providers over to her and she starts using them. I mean, it's really cool, right? We have private equity guys in our fund. We have venture guys in our fund and gals. We have a pretty diverse group of investors as well. So we're not only helping as a firm, but also our investors are getting involved in the deals that we do. We allow co-invest in our fund, which a lot of venture firms don't do. But I actually want my investors to put money into our deals. It's really helpful when an operator that is very close to your industry also puts money in, also joins the advisory board. This is a big part of what we are able to accomplish when we invest in a company. We have over 1,000, we have thousands of marketing partners on Hawk Media side. People who refer us business, we refer them business. We also key in our investments into our marketing partner world. Our partnership team represents 30 to 40% of the revenue in Hawk Media. We have a lot of people who owe us. We owe a lot of people. Favors are traded back and forth. Those favors are cashed in for the venture side of the business as well. Who's the team? So it's me. I run the venture side. Eric and Tony are the founders of Hawk Media. We're the 3 GPs. If you're talking to Hog Ventures, you're either talking to our associate, but if we invest, you're talking to us. You're working with us. There's a lot of experience here. And especially when it comes to software and marketing and commerce, we know how to operate these businesses. That's what makes us different than others. We're not just an investor, we're a partner in your business. That's a big selling point, both for us and for founders who are our portfolio companies. What's our advantage? This agency has done hundreds of millions of dollars. Actually, our partner Eric just turned down a huge acquisition offer, life-changing. Didn't want to do it, likes to market, likes to invest. You know, what would you do if you sold your company? Well, then you have to go do something else. And this is really fun. We have a ton of expertise, right? We've proven that we have returns in our fund. Operators love us. They love working with us. We have a lot of expertise. This is what makes us different than most venture capital firms that don't have as much deep expertise as us. We have access, right? 600 brands a month. I'm trying to invest in a company that ultimately I can sell to the 600 brands that are working with us every month. That's the main difference in our ability to grow a company. Fuel. Not only do we have expertise and access, but we got a bunch of great marketers that work with us. We can fuel your company's growth, right? It's not a requirement that somebody hires us for marketing, but if they do, they're going to get the best and brightest. So this is Alex Ballard. He's the CEO of the president of Postscript. I work with him super closely. Again, we've been one of the biggest partners to them. They love working with us. Great references on that side of the house. This is Johnny Smalley from Yaguara. We exited this deal. And look, we did a great job of accelerating that business, sold it, got some returns. It's a great thing for us. We also are holding some stock in the new company as well. And we're working with the Headless Commerce company to grow them on our website building side of the business. Eliza from the Sill, again, they've been marketing with us for over 3 years. And that's a huge testament that they're on a month-to-month plan with us. And for 36 months, they've been with us. So we know what we're doing. Returns to date, not so much necessary, but we do 50 to 250K checks. That's what we did in Fund 1. I'm out there raising for Fund 2 right now, which is a lead check fund. So we're doing $1 to $2 million checks. And look, here's just a snapshot of some of our limited partners. Mike Brown from Death Wish Coffee. They're one of the biggest direct-to-consumer coffee brands on the planet. They're in retail now. And he's one of our amazing investors. They utilize our technology. They're very impactful in helping our consumer brands. We got the M13 co-founders in our deal, previous 99-cent store president. We got a guy who has sold 3 healthcare companies, who's a buddy of mine from Michigan. We got a guy who built a $30 million yoga business, direct-to-consumer subscription. And the main way that he did that is by building a bunch of technology automation. Like, we got some great partners with us that are not just investors. They're not just money. They're people who have a ton of experience. What's our diligence process? Well, we have a rating for every company that comes in. We market stress test in terms of like seeing how our experts like it, seeing how our clients like it. From a scale testing perspective, how quickly can we onboard companies? We can tell really quickly since we have all these brands. And then our experts, right? They're inside the tool, they're using it. They tell us if they like it or not. If they love it, that's when we invest. Our full portfolio, we got about 16 companies that we've invested in. Some of these are just so incredibly exciting, innovative. We've been super happy to have such great founders in our portfolio. Some of these logos are newer than others. We've been investing out of our Fund 1 for a little over 2 years. So we're still pretty early. And honestly, the growth in some of these companies has been spectacular. And a lot of it's because we've been able to actually help them rather than just write a check and step away. We have a really cool diversity scout program that we launched. So I'm actually training a super diverse group of future investors. They're going to be finding deals for us, we're going to install them as venture partners in these deals, working alongside the founders. I'm really excited to graduate them in January, and I'd love to see some of them maybe working alongside companies like you all. Great, that's my pitch. Where am I at? Okay, 20 minutes, great. So I have a couple, and does anybody have any questions before I go into do's and don'ts of pitching us and do's and don'ts of startups raising capital? Can I open up the floor to anybody who wants to ask questions about what our firm does?
Drew, can you go a little bit more into the diligence process and how long it takes for that?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking. It really, really varies. So I typically say we don't invest quickly. If your round is closing in 2 weeks, we're not going to make it. It's not going to happen. Our diligence process can take anywhere from 6 weeks to 15 weeks to a couple months, right? Sometimes we're alongside of founders for 3 to 4 months before we invest. I will say with our new fund, we have something that we're debuting called this tracker check model. So every month we're going to write a 50K check to a company that we're really interested in working with. That check's going to come quickly with not a ton of diligence, maybe a couple calls, a deck, maybe a reference check or 2. And we're going to write that check. And then we're going to work alongside you 3 to 6 months to decide if we should basically lead your deal with $1 to $2 million. So that's a new dynamic for our next fund. We're closing on our first amount of capital for our $50 million fund here soon. So the tracker check model will be live starting in January. But the idea is we want to get to know you. You want to get to know us before we join your board and help grow the company from the seed stage to the Series A stage. But ultimately what we want to do is we want to build case studies. We want to take you into a client. We want to take you into our experts. We want to build a case study. We want to go, wow, this works. It's something that our clients like. It's something that our experts like. And now we want to go tell the world. So we put in a bunch of effort into the diligence process so that after we invest, we can just press go and we can market you, we can push you, we can turn on all the levers at our disposal. So the diligence process takes longer because we're not just a typical venture firm that's investing cash and like making some introductions. We're really working with you inside of your company alongside of your hustle, right? So we don't invest quickly. It takes some time and some energy to get us in a deal. And then once we're in the deal, we're able to grow you pretty quickly.
Awesome.
One thing to note, we are investing in post-revenue companies. We are investing in the very early stage growth of a company after they have a product in market, after they have customers, after they have they're showing that this product works. Our job is to verify that it works and then scale it. So that's why we invest in post-revenue companies. If you're pre-revenue, I mean, we talk to pre-revenue companies, but it's always, yeah, let's wait and see. Let's talk again when you have some customers, when you have some paid customers, when you've proven some willingness to pay, when you have a little bit more traction. I see the chat here. Pre-seed and seed. Yeah, so we don't invest in pre-revenue.
Awesome. And what's normally the typical way companies reach out to you, or is it through the Hawke platform, or how do you normally see the companies reaching out to you? And what's
we've made a pretty serious name in the MarTech, ad tech, and e-com space. So we get a ton of deal flow directly. People reach us via email. We get introductions from other investors. A lot of times an email from another investor is a really strong indicator for us. But we also have people just reach out cold, and we have a team that reviews deals.
Awesome. How big is the team?
We have a team of about 5 on the investing team. And then we also have all the resources inside of Hawke Media as well, which is about a 250 person organization.
Awesome. Perfect. And let me go ahead and let everybody unmute themselves here at this point. We'll open up the floor to any questions. Also, you can send them in the chat. Looks like Drew's reading over that pretty well here. Where geographically, where are you making investments? Are they in the US? Are they in North America? Where would that be?
Yeah, so we have a mandate that we have to invest in US based companies, stock. So we have looked at companies that are, let's say they're in Israel or they're somewhere else, but they have a US based holding company for raising capital. We can do those deals. The paper just has to be US paper. And we've seen a lot of Israeli companies actually create holding companies in the US to take US dollars. So we're familiar with that. But yeah, US based companies is typically where we're at. Geographically inside the US, we don't care. Anybody have any questions for me on the fund? And then I can talk a little bit more about general fundraising know-how, things I hate, things I like. Okay, cool. Well, so I think one of the things to remember is that when you're pitching investors, you are talking to humans. We care about what we care about. We have interests, we have passions, we have things that we're good at, things that we're bad at. I can't tell you how many biotech pitches have reached my inbox, and I'm just like, did you look at anything that I care about or what I'm good at or my background, right? I can't help a biotech company. Like, look at my LinkedIn, like look at our website. Like, that's not what we do, right? So be really careful about spamming investors. It's most likely not going to help you. It may not necessarily hurt you because people are just going to delete it, but also like that's just not a good method, right? Quality over quantity is important, right? So I always tell people, if you're reaching out to me, put something about my experience in the email at the top of it. Hey, Drew, I love that you work at Mobile Roadie. They had a really cool logo and I remember them from 2014. Like, just show me that you're a human too, because I'm a human, right? So humanize your follow-up, humanize your outreach. And also, if you can get introductions to folks, to our investors through people that you know who can vouch for you, that's a really, really big thing. If I get an introduction from another investor, I'm going to do a call no matter what to meet them. That's just how I work. Maybe some firms aren't like that, but I really definitely want to get on a call with a founder who is referred to me from another investor that I like and trust and work with. So that's important. The other thing is LinkedIn is not a good barometer anymore of if someone knows someone you're connected to. I'm connected to thousands of people. I don't know everyone. And so you can reach out to people to ask, oh, do you know this person, whatever. But I would say that a lot of folks are connected to people that they don't really know. So that's not always the best barometer. But you may be able to do some research, see if I'm in a deal with an investor, maybe we know each other because we're both in Postscript or whatever it is. That can be a good research method too. Yeah, I think just in general, doing some background on the investors that you're pitching and making sure that they understand that you understand what they're into and what they're good at, what they can help with, right? Always put it into the eyes of the investor, your company, right? At the same time, you don't want to lose yourself. I think it's really important that founders are good at coaching and being coached, taking feedback. But at the same time, like, you have to be a rock. It's okay to tell investors that's not a part of our strategy. That's not what we do. This is what we do. This is why it's going to be successful, right? So you got to have sort of a push-pull with that advice from investors. Sometimes it's good to take advice. Sometimes it's really bad to take advice. Like, they just don't know what they're talking about, right? So I think that's sort of that's a really important piece too. I also think it matters what partner that you're talking to or what associate that you're talking to. I have a lot of folks that get on the phone with one of our associates or someone on our team. And, sometimes maybe I can't join the meeting or they're just taking the call. And it's really important to be respectful to the folks on the ground, right? I mean, we're all super busy. We got a million things going on. We're running a fund. We got portfolio companies. We can't take every single introductory call, but a real surefire way to not get interest from the partner is to not be very nice and courteous to the associate. I see it all the time. I have a piece of technology called Fireflies that like records our meetings. And I am astounded by the way that founders treat a member of my firm. Just because you're an associate doesn't mean that like you can't give a warming review to me and I want to invest or jump on a call with you. It's like, it just blows my mind. I think ego gets in people's way, right? Just because you're not talking to the managing partner doesn't mean that we don't care and doesn't mean that we're not interested. That always sort of blows my mind. Definitely be respectful to whoever is on the team. We're all on the same team and we want to produce and invest in great companies. So don't let your ego get in the way. Those are sort of the main three things that I look for. Again, we kind of talked about this a little bit. If you are pre-revenue and you want to reach out to me, that's totally fine. You can say, hey, I know you don't invest in pre-revenue companies, but would love to get on your radar. Can I send you updates on how we're doing so that maybe we could talk in 3 to 6 months? I love stuff like that. I'm like, absolutely. Would love to join and hear about how you're doing. Would love to just be in your circle, right? And so I think it's totally cool to figure out what is your end game with an investor. Well, ultimately, I want them to invest, but maybe now isn't the right time. Do you just can I add you to my investment updates, right? That's a small ask, but guess what? I get to learn about you and your company over the course of 6 months. You didn't waste my time. You didn't bark up a tree that wasn't going to be good for you because you're not the right fit, not the right time. So, that's just something to think about. Treat every investor as if it's a different partner that you're talking to, right? I mean, when you're dating, right, you don't approach every single woman or man the exact same way. Like, it's nuanced. Like, you're creating a relationship, right? This isn't a transaction. So treat it like a relationship and not a transaction, right? I have to do the same thing when I'm raising capital with my investors. There's a relationship here. I'm not just asking for money. Hey, invest in my fund. We're doing good. Like, come over here. It doesn't work that way. Does anybody have any questions on those points?
I have a small question. First of all, thank you very much, Drew, for the speech and the passion of explaining what you're doing. It's always part of the deal. I must be honest and say that unfortunately, my company, and what you're doing, there's not a fit. So I'm not here now to pitch or try to raise money. Just want to ask you something. I assume that with 50 to 250,000 check sizes, you do some safe deals, maybe here and there.
Sure.
And my question about safe, it's a partially mentality question, is do you consider cap in the safe as valuation or as some kind of high-level protection mechanism for the next rounds? What's your view on the cap in the safe deals?
Yeah, so the cap is still relative to what my cash is going to turn into from an equity perspective. So the way that I look at it is a cap is not a valuation, but it does value my money. It doesn't value your company necessarily. It values my money, right? What does my money turn into when it converts, right? And so that is relative to me because I might have two deals, one's cap X and one's cap Y, and I'm considering those two deals. And well, this one's a higher cap, but has a better team. This one's a lower cap and has an inexperienced team. Like, a lot of investors are going to go, well, am I going to go for the value of my dollar or am I going to go for the value in the team? And it's worth paying cap Y as opposed to cap X, right? So yes, it does matter a lot. I'll look at a deal with a founder who's exited 3 times. They're raising a seed round. It's a $25 million safe cap. They have no revenue. They're like in the idea phase. And I'm like, no way, I'll look at a company with an inexperienced founder, $5 million cap, but they have really amazing traction. They're like doing 30K in monthly revenue and growing 20% month over month. And I'm like, ooh, I like this because there's traction and it's working. My founder might be a little inexperienced, but we might be able to, with the team and who we're going to hire and who we're going to place in here, the investors that are joining the board, we might be able to make something work because there might be something really interesting that they've caught on to. As a former entrepreneur myself, who you're David at going against Goliath, like sometimes you need people to just believe a little bit and the traction can help you believe, right? So yes, the cap matters. Absolutely. I would say that we are very cap sensitive. We're typically investing in companies that are less than $10 million valuation or cap. We're joining early stage. We're partners. There's a lot we can do for a company. And the juice in the squeeze, the value of that dollar matters. Great question.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. One of our best deals that's grown faster than any other deal in the firm. When I invested, I felt like I overpaid. And I was like, oh man, this stings. This is expensive. And that's turned out to be what I hope is going to be an 86 times return for us. So it sometimes pays to know when to overpay. And one of our other deals that was cheap relatively and had a ton of traction, that was one of the only companies that's gone belly up in the pandemic. So it's like, you can definitely be wrong on that side of the house. I typically tell people to treat your investors like partners. You're not trying to like conserve equity when you're trying to build $1 billion company. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, let's all help each other grow. Let's all do our part. Let's make sure we have smart money. I think that people are a little overzealous with the cap at a very early stage of the business. You're 85, like, the ratio is 85% of companies fail in 5 years or 7 years or something. I can't remember exactly what the time horizon is, but you are most likely going to fail. And if you don't fail, that's amazing. But like, let's make sure that you have the right partners in the deal and everyone feels good about the deal they're in, right? And so that's the perspective I came from. I've been an entrepreneur, raised money. I've done the sweetheart deals. I understand that side. I'm an investor. I help companies a lot. I want it to feel right.
Hey, Drew. Thanks for the great presentation. You mentioned that you're looking to invest more in post revenue. Can you share a little bit about what you're looking for in that aspect?
Yeah, so typically 20,000 to 100,000 in monthly revenue. That's what we're looking at. And that's important for us because 20,000 in revenue doesn't mean you have product market fit, by the way. Like, you don't get a valuation because you say you have product market fit on 20,000 in monthly revenue. You have product market fit at a much later stage, right? When you've really proven that the TAM is there and growing constantly, right? For me, it's important to be able to call customers, clients, say, how's it working? What's your experience been like? How long did it take you to onboard the software? Talk to us about your ROI, talk to us about your time savings. You really need to be in market selling and at least show willingness to pay. So the gap between willingness to pay and product market fit is pretty massive, right? And so it's my job to go in there and go, I think we're going to hit product market fit with this business model. And they've proven the ability to sell and have willingness to pay, right? That's where I come in.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question also. What to send you as an aspect of presentation about the company?
Sure.
So which type of material, for example, are you looking for?
So in an ideal world, a company that I'm just like going to invest in really quickly because they have everything I want. They send me their investor presentation. I know how much they're raising and I know the valuation of the cap of the raise. It's the investor presentation. I also have a case study from an e-commerce client or a consumer client that shows positive ROI or demonstrable time savings, right? Client case study, right? Or several, even better. I also have an agency sales deck. Here's what I pitch agencies. Here's how we scale with agency. Here's how we scale with channel partners. This is what we provide to people who then work with hundreds of clients or tens of clients, right? Here's our channel sales strategy. In a perfect world, you have all those things. You also have revenue and you're growing. It's like that's like my perfect scenario, right? Which never happens. But in a perfect scenario, I understand all those pieces and then my team loves it and we invest. That's the perfect scenario.
Is there an option or opportunity to get, for example, by email to the people here that are looking for an example of a deck or a pitch
Sure.
that will be relevant, just to learn from that?
Yeah, it's really tough for me to share other companies' information.
Sure.
I just can't. We're really careful about how we obtain information from firms, and if it gets out there that I'm sharing it with people, it's not good. But I know that's kind of frustrating. But
we have decks on our side that I can
I'm sure
show
you
you guys.
do. Yeah, I'm sure you do on your side. Yeah. I don't think SkyX would be super happy. Is it Elon? I don't think you'd be super happy if I sent your deck.
It's Elon, yeah. I don't want you to send my presentations to anybody else, right?
This one sucks, man. It's terrible. Don't do this. Don't do what Elon did. Just
Well,
kidding.
we can talk about a presentation, but definitely not the business plans and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I share it with co-investors, people who would invest with me. And that's sort of like the dirty secret in the industry a little bit. It's like I'm gonna share my deal with other people who will invest or I've invested with. But that's very different because we're like on the same plane of money, power, influence, ability to help companies. But yeah, and usually like if I'm interested in a deal, like, I want someone else to come in with me. That behooves everyone, right? That's good for all parties.
I guess another question, just because we're still in COVID technically, is where's the office? Where do people meet you if they want to meet in person, or is everything virtual?
So everything's virtual. I live in Denver. More than welcome to come out to Denver, Colorado. Let's hit the slopes, do some snowboarding or whatever. I'm always down. But yeah, we are a pretty virtual company. Our roots are in Los Angeles. That's where our founder is. We were in Los Angeles for many years before we went fully remote. I think we have employees in like 32 different states at the moment, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we're remote. So that's kind of where we're at now. We haven't done in-person events in a super long time. I don't know if we're gonna do them. I'm sure we'll do ones in LA and New York, Miami, like major places again. But yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, does anyone else have any other questions here? I guess what's the response time after someone sends you their information, their deck? Is it and it's relevant? What would be a reasonable response time to think for a company?
Yeah, so it kind of varies. Like if I just get a cold email from somebody who I've never like met, or I don't know, or they didn't reference the Israel economic mission, I mean, sometimes you don't even respond. It's just like that. If I took the time to respond to every single founder, I would literally like only be able to do that, right? If I get an intro from somebody or somebody forwards it to me, then I'll give a response to that. Obviously this group is different. I'm happy to respond in somewhere around 72 hours. My team looks at it and gives some feedback, and then I can forward that along or respond. We're usually, it's pretty quick if it's in their thesis or not. My quickest response is like, hey, this just isn't in our thesis. Sorry, good luck. Not for us, because it just doesn't fit our thesis. If it isn't thesis, and there's something wrong with it, or it's not quite a fit for the media company or whatever it is, then I can share that a little bit more. But we're pretty quick if it's a no. If it's a maybe, pretty quick as well.
Awesome. Any other helpful, I guess, feedback or that you can give to the companies about reaching out to investors in terms of do's and don'ts?
Yeah, I mean, I was on a panel a couple of weeks ago with a couple of buddies of mine in Michigan at the business school there, and the truth is that if you're a talented entrepreneur and you got a good thing going, you got a good pitch, and you're halfway decent at pitching, you just have to have enough people at the top of the funnel. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to raise the full amount that you have if you have enough people at the top of the funnel. It is a sales funnel. You have your top of the funnel, your middle funnel, which is like, subscribe to my updates. And then you have the closing, at the bottom of the funnel. Like, you just have to talk to enough people. And if you talk to 1,000 people and no one will give you money, then look at yourself, but you have to talk to enough people. Don't talk to 50 people and then go, oh, my fundraising isn't working. It's like, you haven't talked to enough people. You just have to have more humans that you're talking to. You have to run it like a sales process, be organized, have a spreadsheet, have a CRM. Like, you have to be really organized and make sure that you're reaching out to enough people. getting enough introductions, going to the right events. It's a slog. It's hard. But you gotta have, if you have enough people that you talk to, eventually it'll happen.
What's the most important thing that you look for in an investment deck in your mind?
I care least about product. This is a really interesting misnomer for entrepreneurs. You spend all day long on your product. You get on the phone with an investor, all you want to do is talk about the product. I don't care about the product. In a roundabout way, I don't even care about the product, right? I care about what the product does. I care about what the team has done. I care about what the clients that you're working with are doing. I care about the cap of the round and how much you're raising. I care about so many different things. And founders want to talk about the product and how it works. I don't even like, it doesn't matter. Like, what is the results it produces? What is the solution that it solves, right? How? I don't even care. Why? I care, right? But entrepreneurs focus way too much on the product in their pitches. Entrepreneurs focus way too much on the product in their pitch decks when they're talking. Like, talk about why the product. Talk about where it's going. Talk about where the market's going. My most famous example of this, when Bird pitched their first investors, they didn't even have a scooter in their deck. So what does that say about your company and how you should be thinking about the industry, the landscape, the product, or I'm sorry, the market, the team, right? Like, if Bird can get a ton of money before they even put a scooter on their deck, like, what are you doing with your product and your pitch, right? And I know that's kind of like, that's not the best example because they're a huge company and obviously the founder, you know, has an incredible track record. But think about that for a second. Like, there's so much more important things that you're going out to market and talking about than your product. There's a whole other slew of things that are happening that make your company successful. Your product is going to change 5 times in the next, 3 or 4 years. Pivots happen. I'm working out of one of our portfolio companies here in Denver today, their office. We're just talking about a pivot that they're looking at making, a new business model to go after. That business model might be the one that actually ends up being the product market fit, not the one that's currently scaling right now, The product changes, the service changes. So that's why we don't want to focus on it that much, because we know it's going to change with scale. It's going to look differently. And so it's kind of weird because you focus on your time all day on the product, but really you need to focus on the rest of the pitch as well.
Nice. That was terrific. I want to give time for Julia also to introduce herself. I see she's on the call.
Julia, yes, of course. Hawke Media Partnerships. Introducing me.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, guys. Drew, great pitch. It's always nice hearing about the synergies. Drew actually kind of highlighted what our team does on the partnership side, but we're really here to enable our partners, and that could be any one of you on the partnerships program. And we work on a referral and an introduction basis as well as co-marketing. So with a lot of our partners, we want to enable you to succeed with our client base as well. In that retrospect, beyond that, of course, if anyone does need any sort of digital marketing help, we also want to be here as a resource to you, whether or not you can work directly with Drew and on the venture side. So if anyone ever did need any free marketing consultations or just more advice on how to really break into the US market from a marketing perspective, we're here as a resource for you. So I can share my email address, post this call with all of you, or leave it in the chat. If you need any help from the digital marketing side or would like to connect on the partnership side of things, I would love to chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Our partnership team is incredible. If there's a wrinkle they can find, if there's an opportunity they can find, if there is a introduction that can be made, they will do it. And if there isn't, well, then it's just not a fit, and that's fine too. But highly recommend reaching out and seeing if there's something, if there's a way that you can work into the Hawke Media ecosystem in some way.
Definitely.
Great. Any last questions here before we end the call?
One last question. Thank you very much, Drew, for the pitch and for your time. Would it be possible to get your email or any other point of
Yeah, it's
contact?
sure. It's just drew@hawkmedia.com.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Awesome. So I'll do a follow-up email with everyone's contact information as well, just in case you missed it, or for people who had to leave early to share that with them as well. If you did want to meet with Drew one-on-one, just send me an additional email. I know you've already indicated if you wanted to meet with them. So I'll make sure that I can make that happen post this call so that we can get that squared away, since now that you've heard from him, you can see if it's relevant for you or not. But yeah, thank you, Drew. Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Randall.
the
I
insight.
appreciate you. Yeah, Randall, thanks a lot for putting this together. Julia as well. Thanks all for attending. Hopefully it was helpful for you.
Wasn't it? Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.